For centuries, British royalty has been imagined and painted as a lineage of pale-skinned aristocrats wrapped in ermine and crowned in gold. But there is one royal figure who continues to stir both curiosity and controversy: Queen Charlotte of Mecklenburg-Strelitz, wife of King George III. Whispers about her ancestry have echoed through time, with some scholars, historians, and cultural commentators asserting that she may have been Britain's first black queen. Could it be that a woman of African descent once sat on the throne of the British Empire? Born in 1744 in what is now Germany, Charlotte was a princess of Mecklenburg-Strelitz, a minor German duchy. When she married King George III in 1761, she became Queen Consort of Great Britain and later the United Kingdom. Their union was both political and personal. She bore 15 children, including 2 future monarchs. But behind her royal portrait was a lineage that, some argue, traced back to Madragana, a 13th-century Moorish woman in the Portuguese royal bloodline. Historian Mario de Valdes y Cocom, an African-American researcher, reignited the theory in the 1990s, tracing Charlotte's ancestry back 15 generations to Madragana, a woman described in historical Portuguese sources as Moorish, a term often associated with North African and sub-Saharan roots. If this ancestry held true, it meant Charlotte had African heritage that made its way quietly through European nobility until it reached the throne of England. Supporters of the theory point to physical descriptions and portraits of Queen Charlotte. Contemporary accounts described her features as mulatto and African. Sir Allan Ramsay, the court painter known for capturing more realistic depictions, painted Queen Charlotte with noticeably darker skin and wider facial features, details that later artists altered or softened. Was it an artistic choice, or a political one, to blur traces of blackness from royal history? Yet mainstream historians remain divided. Many argue that a 15-generation gap dilutes any claim of blackness in a racial or cultural sense. Others claim the term Moor was too broadly used in medieval Europe and could just as easily refer to religious background or regional origin, not necessarily sub-Saharan African descent. Still, the deeper question lingers, not just about bloodlines, but about how history is written and who is allowed to belong to its royal chapters. What makes Queen Charlotte's story even more compelling is how it contrasts with her era. She ruled during a time when the British Empire was heavily involved in the transatlantic slave trade, and yet she, perhaps unknowingly, represented the very ancestry that the empire sought to dominate and erase. Her presence complicates the sanitized narrative of British aristocracy and challenges notions of racial purity in monarchies. In recent years, pop culture has reignited interest in Charlotte's possible heritage. Netflix's Bridgerton series boldly portrayed her as a black queen, weaving race and royalty into the romanticized fabric of Georgian England. While fictionalized, it forced millions to reconsider a question long buried under royal archives. What if England's royal blood was not so white after all? And what does it mean that this possibility was hidden, ignored, or whitewashed? Was Queen Charlotte truly the first black queen of England? The definitive answer may remain elusive, lost. in the folds of genealogy, politics, and evolving language. But the real power of her story lies in what it represents: the presence, influence, and legacy of African ancestry in places we were told it could never exist. Whether fully black, partially African, or simply symbolic, Queen Charlotte remains, a royal figure who challenges the face of history and forces us to look again.